It's the worst attack Lebanon has seen in years. 2 suicide bombers hit a Hezbollah stronghold in southern Beirut. So, how exposed is Lebanon to the war in Syria? And what's behind Hezbollah's increasing involvement there? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. In Doha, I'm Adrian Finnegan. Now, it's described as a stronghold of the Lebanese Shia armed group Hezbollah, but the busy Burj, al-Barajneh neighbourhood of Beirut is also home to others with no particular loyalty to Hezbollah, as well as Syrian and Palestinian families. ISIL, though, has portrayed the 2 bombings it says it carried out during the evening rush hour on Thursday as strictly sectarian, targeted revenge against Hezbollah, which has sent thousands of fighters to prop up its neighbour, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Lebanon is holding a day of mourning after at least 43 people were killed. A reminder that Lebanon can't escape from the war next door. Lots to discuss on today's programme, but first here's Al Jazeera's Zaina Hodda to set things up from Beirut.
Officials from across Lebanon's political divide condemned the attack. There was a rare show of unity. Even opponents of the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah condemned the attack, saying it was unjustifiable, it's a crime. But all this talk about national unity, even the Prime Minister saying that we need to set aside our differences because this is aimed at causing divisions in the country. But there is little national unity here. We know that Lebanon is politically divided over the conflict in neighboring Syria. There are groups who support the Syrian opposition. There are groups that support the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and this has caused a lot of tensions. And it's not just a political divide, but a sectarian divide. Now, I can tell you what people here are saying. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of defiance, but at the same time, there is fear that there's going to be another round, another cycle of violence, because in 2013 and 14, there was a campaign of attacks in Beirut's southern suburbs. Dozens of civilians were killed, and this is the first attack in over a year, and that's why people are shocked.
All right, so let's bring in our guests for today's Inside Story. From Beirut, we're joined by Elias Farhat, strategic researcher and retired Lebanese general. From London, Olivia Gita, managing director of geopolitical risk and security consultancy firm Global Strat. And also from Beirut, we're joined by Bassam El-Sheikh, journalist for the Al Hayat newspaper. Welcome to all of you. Olivia, let's start with you. What are we to make in particular of the timing of this attack? ISIL has been threatening reprisals against Hezbollah for some time now, hasn't it?
Right. I mean, I was surprised that the attack didn't happen way before, because usually when Islamic State releases videos or audio tapes about warning to attack Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, it happens in a matter of days. So a couple of things that we can think of is that probably Islamic State, being a dual classical army and terrorist group, would want to steer chaos in neighboring Lebanon when it comes to what's happening with the Russian airstrikes that are seemingly helping a little bit the Assad regime getting a better handle on the Islamic State. So that could be one way to create a new front, and terrorist groups are very good at this when they have the wherewithal of doing it.
What are we to make of the fact that ISIL, if it turns out to have been ISIL, they've claimed responsibility, but they were able to mount such an atrocity in Hezbollah's heartland? Look,
I mean, Hezbollah has not been invincible for the past 2 years. We remember that another terror group, Abdullah al-Azam Brigade, were able to target Hezbollah in the past 2 years. What is, as I think, is important for you viewers to remember is that Islamic State had the wherewithal of doing it because, unfortunately, as you can see it, for an organization to bring in 3 people from Syria, which was the case most probably yesterday, to just walk in an area and blow themselves up is not that difficult in a way when it comes to modus operandi. And I'm suspecting that, unfortunately, this could be just the beginning of a much larger campaign from Islamic State to target Hezbollah inside Lebanon.
Elias Farhad, do you agree with that this perhaps is just the beginning of a much bigger campaign against Hezbollah?
It's not the beginning, actually. It is part of this. We are in the course of the fight between the terrorist groups, the al-Qaeda-affiliated groups and ISIL groups in Lebanon. So far, before this blast, ISIL committed 2 blasts in the southern suburb of Beirut, and Qaeda-affiliated group committed 10 in the last years. So we are in the middle of this war between Hezbollah and al-Qaeda-affiliated group and ISIL from the other side. It is a war, and now Hezbollah is taking part in the fight in Syria, northern Syria, definitely with the Syrian forces against ISIL in the Quiris airport, and they attacked the positions of ISIS over there, and now they are attacking the Qaeda-affiliated groups in southern Aleppo. They are part of the campaign against terrorist groups in Syria. So it is logical that the terrorist groups will revenge in Lebanon, as they revenged in Sharm el-Sheikh by blowing up an aeroplane, a Russian airplane.
Well, we don't know that for certain yet. That's the main suspicion about that plane. But to what extent has Hezbollah stretched itself too far, do you think, in that it has so many people fighting on the ground in Syria and is engaged with these other organizations that you were talking about? There's no one effectively left to protect its power base in Lebanon.
Actually, sir, the Burj el-Barajneh, the area where the attack taken place, is a residential area. It's attached to Beirut, and the security of this area is for the Lebanese government and Lebanese army and security forces. It's not only for Hezbollah, and Hezbollah stretched up to Syria because he now wages a preventive war against ISIS and al-Qaeda groups, because had Hezbollah did not wage this war, ISIS or al-Qaeda could have entered the plain of Akkar and plain of Bekaa in northern and eastern Lebanon, the same way that they entered Nineveh and Anbar in Iraq. These groups are not an opposition groups that have their agenda to the Syrian government or the Syrian reforms. They are a terrorist groups that they have a regional and international agenda, not only in Lebanon. Lebanon is an arena, Syria is an arena, Egypt is an arena, Iraq is an arena. There is no, no national interests, no national demands for these groups, but only to be terrorists through all over the region.
So what is Hezbollah doing to prevent blowback at home?
I don't think that there will be a blowback back at home, because there is a Lebanese accord about Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is a part of the political process in Lebanon. It's part of the parliament, of the unions, of the mayors, and it's a part of the political life and the fabrics of Lebanon, and they have relations with all the political parties. Sometimes it will be tensive and sometimes it will ease. So this is the business of all the Lebanese factions, not only Hezbollah itself.
Let's bring in Bassam El-Sheikh, journalist for Al-Hayat. Bassam, is Lebanon now inexorably being drawn into the conflict in Syria? Is it now part of the battleground in the proxy war that is playing out in Iraq and Syria?
This is not new. Attacks. First of all, Lebanon has always been a part of the war in Syria ever since the revolution started in 2011. Hezbollah is part of this war. They didn't deny it. They were clear about it. And the southern suburb of Beirut has witnessed many attacks before. So this attack does not come out of nowhere. We remember in 2013 up to June 2014, there were many attacks to the stronghold of Hezbollah. So basically now the fear is that this is a new wave of attacks against this region. It is just a continuity of what was previously proxy war. Yes, that's for sure.
Bassam, people of all political stripes and religious persuasions have condemned this attack. Will it draw the people of Lebanon, the people of the capital Beirut, together? Is there a danger that this could trigger further sectarian violence in the country?
Actually, this was like a shock, we have to say. People are in awe because those were civilians that were hit. It was not any sort of political assassination towards any leader of Hezbollah. So basically, ordinary people, civilians, were killed for nothing but living in a stronghold of Hezbollah. So yes, politicians and Lebanese people are now in solidarity, and this is a short time of unity. The question will remain how long this unity will continue, especially that there is a political deadlock in the country that has been going on for more than 1 year. There is no president. All the institutions are blocked. So we will have to wait and see what will come next to this moment, short moment of solidarity.
All right, well, let's put that. I'll come back to Olivier in just a moment. But first, Elias, how long do you think that unity that Bassam was just talking about will last?
Yes, this attack reinforces the unity in Lebanon because so far Lebanon was divided to March 14 and March 8. Now March 14 does not adopt ISIS, neither adopt the Al-Qaeda affiliated groups. They are not their proxy. There is no proxy war because the March 14, from all its constituencies, they do not agree that they support ISIS or support Al-Qaeda. This is not true. They are combined with Hezbollah and with the other parties of March 8 in order to find a settlement for the current crisis, which has nothing to do with the agenda of ISIS or Al-Qaeda affiliated groups. The current domestic political crisis in Lebanon is between the Lebanese factions, and maybe there is an effect from the regional powers and international powers, but never ISIS or Al-Qaeda are part in this domestic troubles because all the Lebanese factions deny and denounce this kind of terrorism.
Olivier, what do you make of that? Does Lebanon's broken, polarized political system, the deep political divisions that exist within Lebanese society, does all of that add to the danger of the country being sucked further into Syria's war? I mean, if Syria and Iraq is where this war began, is Lebanon where it's going to play out next?
Look, a couple of things to get to your question. The first one is I agree with the other guests that this attack will not push more sectarian violence because of two things. First, the Islamic State is viewed as an enemy from all the factions, but at the same time also it was an external attack and not from, I would say, a Lebanese classical Salafi group that attacked Hezbollah. So that's one thing to remember. So that's a positive. The second one that we haven't talked about and that I think is really relevant for the future of the country is the sheer numbers of Syrian refugees. Over 1 million, about 25% of the population in Lebanon. And I've seen from some reports and some sources that the narrative of the Islamic State when it comes to defeating Assad is getting ground and getting people to listen to him, even if they are against targeting people in Lebanon. And that's something that you should keep in your head, is that I'm concerned that there might be some elements within the refugee camps now in Lebanon that could be in the next weeks or months possible suicide bombers on the behalf of the Islamic State, because they view Hezbollah as the main ally of Assad and the main reason why the civil war is still going on.
All right, well, let's put that to Bissau. What do you make of what you heard there? The fact that the very idea that the sheer number of refugees that are now in Lebanon, putting such a strain on society there, among them could be sleeper cells that could be prepared to enact more violence, like the sort we saw on Thursday in Beirut, more atrocities like that?
Of course, when we talk about proxy war, it doesn't mean in conventional ways. It means like a series of attacks like the ones that we have witnessed last year and yesterday. Definitely Palestinian camps, refugee camps, as well as poor areas in the north and in Tripoli, as well as in the Bekaa, could be, and we can't say they definitely are, but they could be a breeding soil for suicide bombers. So basically, this is a very high possibility, especially that Hezbollah has been fighting in Syria and taking more ground there. So the revenge is here in Lebanon whenever there is a possibility to do so, because as we know, the southern suburb is has a very tight security, so it is very difficult to infiltrate, and this is still one unsolved question about yesterday's suicide bombers. How could they infiltrate such a closed area?
Okay, well, Hezbollah's support for the Syrian army has raised tensions along the Lebanese-Syrian border. Hezbollah, ISIL and al-Nusra Front have been engaged in battles across the Bekaa Valley. The area was considered so vulnerable that a team of British soldiers and engineers has helped to build 12 watchtowers along the border near the town of Arsal, where fighters from ISIL and al-Nusra Front kidnapped around 40 Lebanese soldiers last year. Some of those soldiers were released, some were killed, and around 25 of them are still being held. And just north of there, Ras Baalbek's strategic position has made it the site of several fights between Hezbollah and ISIL. At least 22 fighters were killed there this past June. Olivia, I mean, are Lebanon's armed forces capable of keeping the threat from ISIL under control, from the fight spilling over the border from Syria into Lebanon?
Look, if we're talking about asymmetrical war where Islamic State is very good at when it comes to infiltrating and having terrorist attacks like we saw sadly yesterday, I think there's nothing that the Lebanese forces can do. And I think that at this point even there's nothing that the West could do. So it's not a matter of just Lebanon, it's a matter of unfortunately terrorism and people that could just sneak in or be already on the ground. When it comes to troops, for the time being, it looks like in Syria and Iraq, at least, the Islamic State has been very good at gaining ground, at having strategies and having generals at their heads that know how to deal with those issues. I think that unfortunately, if they were to open a new front in Lebanon, what I could say is the Islamic State would be a formidable enemy for the Lebanese armed forces.
Elias, does this attack weaken Hezbollah in the eyes of its supporters, not there in Lebanon, but in the wider region? Unlike before, when Hezbollah had pretty widespread support across the Middle East, its actions in Syria have certainly impacted upon that support, haven't they? It's not as popular as it once was.
Look, Hezbollah is fighting ISIS and al-Qaeda in Syria, and is not fighting to support the regime or to support the opposition or something like this. All the clashes are between Hezbollah and Qaeda-affiliated groups and ISIS. So I think he will get support of all the Lebanese people, and from now on they will support him more, because people are now aware of the danger of ISIS and Al-Qaeda more and more, because they thought that Al-Qaeda is Syrian opposition. The fact that the Al-Qaeda in Idlib, for example, province and in northern Syria, prevents the National Coalition members or the National Syrian Council members to enter to their regions, even though they call these provinces that they are liberated, and they are not allowed to enter it. So it is the Al-Qaeda affiliated groups and the ISIS groups that are being fought by Hezbollah. So I think this will make sense that Hezbollah is waging a preventive war against any attempt from ISIS or Al-Qaeda to enter Lebanon the same way that ISIS entered northern Iraq.
Let's put that to Bassam then. I mean, is that what people are thinking there in Beirut? Does Hezbollah enjoy widespread support across Lebanese society?
Well, Hezbollah had very wide support not only in Lebanon but also in the Arab world, especially up to 2006 when it waged a war or an opposition, a resistance against Israel. But then when Hezbollah went to Syria, it was not clear for everybody why would a resistance movement fight a war against civilians in Syria at the first place. They first said that they were going to Syria to protect Shiite shrines. So that was way before there was ISIS or any fundamentalist or terrorist groups on the ground in Syria. It was just civilians going down to the streets asking for a regime change, which is their right, I assume. So basically, when Hezbollah went all the way to Syria, to Qusayr, to Zabadani, it was way before all these groups mushroomed in Syria. And if we are to believe that Hezbollah is really fighting against these groups, they might as well go up all the way up to Raqqa instead of staying in Damascus, protecting the ground there, and in many regions where they are not engaged in real fightings.
Okay, so based on what you've just said, what do you think at the moment about Lebanese opinion in general?
Well, at this specific moment, Lebanese opinion is backing the victims, of course. They are backing other Lebanese who are civilians who were attacked yesterday going to the bakery or to the grocery shop or to the mosque. And this has nothing to do in the Lebanese position towards those victims with the political position towards Hezbollah. So this difference should be made and clear, I think.
And finally, Olivia, just very brief, we've got about 30 seconds here. I just want to get your final thoughts on what you've heard there from both Bassam and Elias.
Look, a couple of things. I agree with Bassam that Hezbollah will face a backlash in the next few months regarding its position vis-à-vis Syria, because they entered to protect their main supporter, Bashar al-Assad, in 2011, and a lot of Hezbollah fighters have died there on behalf of Assad. So it's not just fighting Islamic State. But when it comes to the situation there, I think we will unfortunately see much more dramatic violence, hopefully contained in the best fashion possible, but terrorism will hit blindly, unfortunately.
And on that rather depressing note, I'm afraid that's where we've got to end our discussion. We're out of time. Many thanks indeed for being with us today. Elias Farhat in Beirut, Olivia Gita in London, and Bassam El Sheikh in Beirut. And thank you for watching. As always, you can leave your comments on our discussion today on the programme page of our website, aljazeera.com. And you can post your views at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story, or you can tweet us at AJ Inside Story. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching from me, Adrian Finnegan, and all the team here in Doha. We'll see you again. Bye for now.